Please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Playoff Sunday. Wow, I didn't screw up the intro.
No, and you threw a curveball too.
Yeah, I know. And did I screw up the intro last night, guys?
I don't know. I blacked
You, I think you stopped to think for a moment.
And then things started to happen, right?
Yeah, and then we just got going, and then it went from there.
Well, this is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 1, episode 27. On a beautiful Sunday night, we have a great guest tonight, guys. From the Metropolitan Riveters, Tatiana Rafter will be on the podcast with us, talking about the championship that they won. Was it about a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, I've talked to Stanley Cup champions. I've talked to NCAA Division I football champions. I've talked to World Series champions, NBA champions, but I've never talked to an Isobell Cup champion before. Have you guys?
No, this will be the first,
No.
and this is very exciting. And to be honest with you, as a father of 2 girls, this is an extreme pleasure for me, because this is someone that my girls can grow up to look up to, and I can't tell you how excited and frankly how nervous I am for this one.
Yeah, I think this is going to be cool. She's also our first. We're interviewing our first current playing hockey player, which is pretty cool as well. So she will have that notoriety, the first current player that we're speaking to, which is pretty cool. So
you kind of get a different perspective of somebody that's like currently in the game instead of somebody that's that's been a little retired.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
A little retired. Don't mind us if we're a little slow or a little off. I mean, we last night with the live event, which thank you for everybody to come. That came out.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys, but I'm like emotionally, my brain is like, boo. I gotta click back into mode here.
Yeah, I'm tired too, but you know what? We're having a good time with it. We had a great time last night. We've got a great show lined up for today. This is our first 2 shows in a row too, so we're getting all kinds of firsts. First live event, first 2 shows in a row, first current player, this is pretty cool. We're doing a lot of cool things.
Yeah, and it's kind of like now we know how it feels to play a back-to-back, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah, totally.
I mean, nowhere close.
Totally, we know how that feels. We also, which we didn't get to talk about at all yesterday, which we should definitely talk about today, the Devils' playoff implications, who they could play. It's. I'm hoping. I'm looking now to see where let's see where this game is now. The Boston, Florida game. It's just the end of the second, so we may know by the end of the podcast who we're playing, which would be cool.
I know both of us have said this before, but we both kind of agree, like, whoever they play is whoever they play. You know what I mean? Like, they got in. That was the big goal, the first goal. I think they had the right mindset of, not backing down to anybody. So they didn't have a good record against they didn't. Boston beat them all 3 times they faced them this year, and then they beat Tampa Bay all 3 times. But you never want to be. There's a lot of fans that are like, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay. Be careful what you wish for. Don't forget they have Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman and Kucherov, and the list goes on and on. So
I'm almost as much as I'm kind of with those fans say they want to play Tampa because how we played against Tampa. I'm a little hesitant to play Tampa just because of that. We got the best of them during the regular season, and this is a whole new game. And I think Grant Marshall yesterday kind of really hammered that point home that you look at that and then you look at the tape from previous games, but then you move on. It's a whole new season. I'm almost a little apprehensive to have the Lightning only because of that previous record we have against them right now.
Yeah, that always scares me too, because you get too confident and you're like, man, we kicked their butt during the season. Like, we're going to totally take care of business when it comes to the playoffs, but the playoffs are a completely different beast. There's a lot of guys on our team that have never tasted this, experience before. So it's going to be a different kind of feel. And then you look at it from the other side, playing Boston, the Devils might have a chip on their shoulder, especially the things that happened with Marcus Johansson, how those series kind of played out. So it might be better for them to play Boston. You never know. So it's just like, at this point, it's like, just they're in whoever they play. You know what I mean?
The one thing I know that I definitely have full confidence in is whoever it is, the coaching staff, Coach Hines and all them are going to have the players prepared and ready to go. I think we'll look back at this season. They had those long stretches of wins, and then we had the stretches of losses and adversity. I think they're going to use that as teaching tools to really, hammer home what the importance of the playoffs are. And, during the regular 82 game season, you have some time, not a lot, but you have some time to correct slumps. In the playoffs, you don't have any time. You have a day.
No, you hit a slump and you're done.
I know. But they have experience of breaking out of these slumps, which is great. As long as they can, parlay that into, turning them around in, like I said, game or two, a day or 2 days time. So,
yeah. And, this is the time of year. This is the time of year where it gets really exciting because you're in the playoffs. It's the playoff hockey. There's nothing like it. You watch every other sport. I watch football, baseball. I know you watch soccer. Playoff hockey, to me, there's nothing like it. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different pace. Like, everything is faster. The hits are a little bit harder. It's a little bit grittier. It's the most exciting time of year.
No, I agree. And I always watch playoff hockey, whether the Devils are in it or not. Last 5 years,
here.
Devils have not. And it's always, I love the first and second rounds because there's always, like, it feels like there's like 8 games on a night, and there's games every single night. So it's always so exciting to watch, and you always hope that you're going to run into one of those 2, 3, 4 overtime games. You hope that it's not the game that you're at, because sometimes those games can get real long when you're there. And they stop selling beer at a certain point, so you're kind of out of luck at that. For example, the game where we beat the Rangers in overtime, all I can get was a coffee.
Oh
And
my
I
god.
had to chug this. I had to chug this hot coffee because I probably could have spiked it on the ground, but I wasn't going to spike a $5 coffee onto the ground that
No,
I just bought.
exactly.
So I
And
chugged it.
that
It
game
was
was still
the best cup of coffee I ever had.
that series honestly is one of the greatest things that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like just that game, game 6 and the whole stigma of the Rangers and everything else, and just being a Devils fan in our building, it was the loudest I've ever heard the Rock in my life. And I know we've talked about this game before, but God, I'll never forget that. That is something that I'll be 90 years old and be like, man, remember when we beat the Rangers in Game 6? That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Although who knows what's going to happen this year? Maybe they'll create some new memories. They're not going to take down the Rangers, but maybe they'll take down the Flyers or something like that.
No, what? Any new memory that we have is not going to. That one's never going to go away. Even with the Henrique's traded, you can still always wear a Henrique jersey because that's going to be a pivotal moment in Devils all-time history.
I agree. 100%.
Ranger fans for years have talked about '94, and we're gonna have it's gonna be one of those points like we won in June of '95. We as the first one. We won again in 2000, 2003. The Henrique defeating the Rangers. I think that was a huge monkey off their back too, which is even better.
Yeah. So this year it's kind of like, in the beginning of the season, if I would have asked you who the Devils going to play in the first round, do you even think that would have been a conversation that would have been realistically had?
My answer would have been, I don't want to. That would have been my answer. Just get there.
Well,
I don't care. As long as we're in the playoffs, I'll play anyone just to be in the playoffs.
No, agreed. And it's funny because you get to the point where you just want to, I'm so anxious. Now we got to wait until Thursday, I believe, is going to be the first game. So now we have to wait until Thursday. Yeah. So all week I'm going to be constantly thinking about the matchups, and obviously they're gonna ride Kincaid. I mean, I hate to say it, but the performance of Corey Schneider last night kind of, I think, might have solidified that Kincaid is going to be the workhorse throughout the playoffs. You can't imagine, this team's got to be so hungry coming out of the gate. But Grant Marshall had a great point last night. He said you don't want to try to win the game in the first 5 minutes of the first game. In that series, they're not going to be home. Try to at least get a split on a road. Get a split, come home, and hopefully take care of business at home.
Exactly. And just get into the game, get into the flow of the series. And Grant said yesterday that the first 5 minutes, so everything's nuts. You're in the playoffs, it's going crazy, but then you tend to settle down, which I still think we've got a great mix of veterans and young players, where the veterans will kind of guide those younger players to what they should do in the playoffs. And it's kind of odd to say this too, but one of the veterans on this team has never been there before, and that's Taylor Hall. So he may have to be, as one of the leaders on the team, he may also have to be kind of guided in how to handle the playoffs, because this is everything the kids, or the guy, has wanted. And he's finally got it.
Yeah, I got to say, what's up to Michael? He's been a Devils fan since '85. He says on our Facebook, and to Mark and David, everybody that's listening and watching, and everybody that's on Twitter and everybody else. Thank you guys so much. This really means a lot to us. Yeah, dude, I agree. This is why it's so important to bring in a Brian Boyle, a Grabner, guys that have experience. Johansson. Now you have guys that in a locker room, if things get a little chaotic, and even Travis Zajac and Andy Green, they were there in 2012. So, you have the voices in the locker room that the other guys, even Taylor Hall, can look over to and say, all right, you know what, either settle down or we got to get in gear or whatever they need to hear. Yeah.
And I really think that leadership is going to really help us, do good things. I'm just excited for this to start. Thursday we'll be here eventually, I'm not used to having playoff hockey in April anymore. I have to admit, I have to make sure that my schedule is being rearranged for Thursday and Saturday.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's oh my god, it's exciting. It's exciting time of year, and let's see what they can do. Let's see if they can do what the Riveters did. Let's bring another championship to the Rock. We already got one there. Let's see if we can bring a second one.
That would be great. To have 2 championships in one building in the same year would be so awesome.
I agree.
So we'll see.
I agree.
They just have to do their part, and play. That's about it.
Yeah. What's funny is like this is the buildup. Like you almost don't know. Like there's points where I'm like, I don't really know what to say as the playoffs are building up. You can go to these shows where they're going to have experts, analyzing every little play that could happen in a series, or, this goaltender is better at facing this type of team, and blah, 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 all these other types of things. You're getting like a fan's perspective. Like this is what, sitting on the edge of your couch, grabbing your chest, you're like, oh, come on, or, getting into your silly routines. This is what we're about. Sometimes it's hard to kind of pontificate of what is going to happen in a series, because just like everybody else, we have that nervous anxiety or that anticipation. So it's kind of like, well, just get into the game. I just want to see the game. I want to see how it unfolds and what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we're the ones that are going to work bleary-eyed in the morning when it goes to 3 overtimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Or you go to a game and have a few too many, and you wake up the next morning, and you're like, well, now I have to go to work. So, and it's 6 a.m.
That never happens. What are you talking about? That never happens.
Well, not for me anymore. Steve, to answer your question, I think he gives Kincaid a lot of leeway. In my opinion, I think he has to at this point. I don't think Schneider has his game back to where he needs to be. I don't think he had enough games played before the playoff, before the playoffs started. And you can't blame Hines for keeping Kincaid in running all the way up to the playoffs, because you have to ride that hot hand.
Yeah, I agree with that. You have to ride Kincaid, and you have to give him a little leeway, but Snyder has to find some way that if he has to get thrown into this mix, that he's got to bring his game back to he's to the way it was pre-injury.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know that they've got to be looking at practice time and figuring out what they have to do to get him to get his confidence back, to get back game ready. Maybe you change your routine, maybe you don't, maybe I don't know what he's got to do, but they need to have him, Snyder, ready in the wings just in case. But you want to give Kincaid that, if he loses the opening game, you don't switch out goaltenders.
Yeah, exactly. I think you got to keep going with it until, and if the wheels fall off, the wheels fall off. That's it. It's just, playoff hockey is a weird thing. Crazy things happen. Games are, won by, a matter of inches. If you look at the 2012 Stanley Cup Finals, that first game, Kopitar scores that breakaway goal against Marty. I mean, that game, the Devils at one point had that game locked down. So I mean, just those little things, just change.
And there were a lot of missed chances by the Devils in that series that could have changed that series around completely.
I agree.
It was a story of not so much losing it, which they obviously did, but missed chances on our side that really cost us the cup that year, and we just never got back to that pinnacle. We fell hard. But interesting thing, I don't know if I've told you this before. I have never seen the 2012 Stanley Cup get lifted.
I don't think honestly, I don't think I did either.
I turned off the TV. And avoided anytime there was an NHL commercial, I changed channel for that entire summer until the next one. I avoided watching. Yeah, right. I avoided watching anything about that cup being won by the Kings. I don't even acknowledge it. And then the next year, I never wanted them to win more.
Isn't that the weirdest thing?
I never wanted them to win more.
When we lost, I hated them so much, and the next year, I'm like, all right, you guys better win again. I'm like, come on, don't. We'll never. If God, imagine if the Rangers won that series, we would have never been able to live that down ever. Ever.
No, never would have heard the end of it.
You couldn't do it. We did it. Blah blah blah. That would have been
But
the absolute worst.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, Bobby Manella says he remembers the Mark Fane missed the most from that series.
Oh God.
So again, that series was the story of missed chances, and
yeah, and there was another question: do we see Mojo getting a chance to get back into the lineup, and if so, who goes out? And that is a really good question because you have a lot of coming down that stretch. They had a lot of chemistry in the lineup, so my
was
first
hard.
inclusion was Gibbons, but I mean, even him, he's playing pretty solid hockey too. So I don't know. That's a good question.
That's a question that we can't answer. The only ones that can answer that are the coaching staff and seeing these guys at practice every single day, day in, day out. They're the ones that call, and we had that insight to watch the Devils practice every day and see who was playing and who was skating better than who. Yeah, I have no answer to that one. That one's a tough one. That one's a great question because it's so hard to answer.
You got to look at the matchups too. Look at the teams that you're playing. If you need more speed and skill, 100%, you would insert him somewhere, right? You would have to.
Yeah.
But then does that mean you take somebody like Patrick Maroon out or Brian Boyle out because you wouldn't need to take out size for speed? I mean, it's all about. This is why they get paid the money, and this is why we sit down and watch the game. You know what I mean? Like you don't take Maroon out because the guy's got hands like silk. Now, I mean,
here's another thing too. If we play the Bruins, do you hold him out of the first game or two just so that emotion to just destroy Marchand isn't there on his end and to kind of, I guess lose his cool and just have that as his only and one main focus? Kind of like let the series, like, do you let the series get into, get started before you insert him into that lineup against Boston?
I don't know because I don't see he's that type of player where he would go out there and try to level Marchand or something like that. He's more of a skill and finesse type of player. So I don't see him doing anything, but maybe getting tangled up with him and chirping and somebody coming over and doing something. But the NHL is so much different now. You don't have guys that are out there that are policing the ice like they used to. I don't know. I don't think that maybe he does. Who knows? But at the same time, I think he's smart enough to know that, it's playoff hockey. And if he took a dumb penalty, like that could cost the team a goal and that could cost him a game. To answer Steve's question, what are our predictions for either Tampa Bay or Boston? Clean sweep. Devils clean sweep. Either one. Doesn't matter. No. Honestly,
that's the pipe dream.
That's hard. Yeah, exactly. Clean sweep and just walk through the entire playoffs.
16 wins in a row.
Boston would have either or could go 7. There's so much skill in Tampa. They have so much experience. Boston they're such a heavy team. They're such a skilled team. I mean, it could go either way. Because you're talking about Bergeron. You're talking about, as much as you hate Marchand, he's a skilled player.
That's a sad thing. That's a sad reality of that one.
Yeah.
But I think the addition of Maroon, may almost play into being an advantage if we do get Boston, because we'll have, we have some more size now, and we do have someone that, you would hope if things get ugly, will step up. Miles Wood won't have to do that. Maroon can be that, can be that warrior to go in there and go into the corner, and maybe even drop the gloves if need be, just to make that statement right in the beginning. So it's almost like that trade could have, could really play into being really good for us if we do get Boston. Tampa's got such high offense, and they're so fast.
They could score within seconds. You know what I mean? They come across the blue line, they can light the lamp like nobody else. They're so dangerous, like that team, and they're a team that you hold your breath, not just when, you get those teams that one line comes on the ice and you're like, oh my God, all right. Well, just wait for him to get off the ice, and then you can breathe a little bit, and then, the game is a little bit, more even. Tampa Bay, there's so much firepower on that team. You're like holding your breath for entire stretches of game, like 10 minutes of the game. You're just not breathing because, you got Kucherov coming down the wing. You got, Stamkos coming down the ring. And even guys like Callahan, who might not have, might not be as great as he used to be, is still a heck of a player. So they're pretty loaded up and down. And their defense is crazy. I mean, half of the New York Rangers are down there, but.
Well, that's why that's why on my hockey team, one of my defensemen is a Ranger fan, and one of my wingers is a Lightning fan. We started calling them the Tampa Bay Rangers because they have so many former Rangers, and Tampa Bay did so good at the trading deadline to take a good team and make it even better.
Exactly. Bringing in McDonough with
they just added. Huge. So, they're both scary teams to play, but you have to think and you have to hope that, both those teams are looking at the Devils going, well, this is not going to be easy. You got to think that they're not looking forward to playing the Devils at all.
And I think you're right. And I think that's 100% going to be the mindset of either team. And it seems like a lot of the, professional analysts are saying that, like, you don't want to face New Jersey in the first round. They're the type of team that's going to come in and shock you or come in and surprise you. They have a lot of skill and speed and youth. And sometimes youth is there's an old saying, like, being young and dumb is better than being old and wise. You're not smart enough to know what, what's good for you and what's bad for you. So you go in and you just play.
And, you hope that these, that these young guns that we got, they just go and they play, that they're not nervous and they just keep rolling the way that they've been doing. The other thing too, it's Sunday. Our last game is yesterday. The first game isn't until Thursday. That's a decent layoff. And those it's always the blessing and the curse of sweeping a team. Not to say the Devils are going to sweep either the first round, but having all of that off time can sometimes be a negative, along with being a positive to rest, but it can also be a negative. So I'm going to have to imagine that they're not changing anything the way that they've been doing. Maybe they're adding a little bit more to practice just to keep them, on their edge forward with the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. You get those coaches that they don't really push them hard in practice, and the teams come in and they come in flat. And then you have coaches that push them too hard in practice, and they come in, they're exhausted, and they get, they come up playing hard, but they're usually spent by, like, the third period, and the wheels usually come off. So you have to find that balance of, you have a lot of days off, like you said, between yesterday and Thursday. So when do you give them rest? Do you give them rest on, like that Monday, and then just bring everybody back Tuesday and just start, getting back down to business? And how much of that do you change? Like, how much do you change? So, Shorts Guy, I don't mean to interrupt our conversation, but I would like to introduce somebody that this is an incredible honor for us, incredible honor for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tatiana Rafter from the Metropolitan Riveters, and I can't thank you enough for joining us. This is such an honor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast, Tatiana. This is awesome, and congratulations on winning the championship.
Thanks so much. It's been just a whirlwind. I just flew home yesterday, so it's been a lot. Been great to spend an extra week with my teammates in New York, and then moving forward, just kind of trying to piece together what's next. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. So. We have like 1,000 questions to know, but I have to say, how did you get your career started? Like, how did you start playing hockey, or how did you were you young? Were you like kind of born into a hockey family, or how did it evolve?
Well, I grew up. Both my parents didn't play growing up or anything like that, but my dad's been quite passionate about hockey, and then we grew up, and me and my two brothers, we all played hockey together. Sorry, just one moment. we all grew up, you know, this small town, and it's almost like hockey is the religion of Winnipeg. I always joke about that with people because it's just always that place of solace, and we all grew up playing outdoors, like games of shinny, like 11 on 11. It's just kind of how I grew up, and it's a really big part of my childhood. So I have just the utmost passion for playing hockey, I think, because of my involvement with it as a child, and it's always been a part of my life now. So it's hard to imagine life without hockey because it's just given so much back to me. And yeah, so I mean, I grew up when I was about, I think I was skating by 3, 4, and then I remember my first jersey team. I was playing for, I was playing 5-6 hockey at this small community center, Sturgeon Creek Community Club, and so there's pictures of that. They're all very funny, me and my youth, but from there, I stayed in Winnipeg, played here throughout until I was 18, and played on a junior prep team at Balmoral Hall School. It's a private school that just had this amazing hockey program brought into the mix, you know, and just Winnipeg's kind of that hockey center of the world. So it was a great opportunity. I played there, and then at the time, it was called the Junior Women's Hockey League. I believe it's labeled something else now, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But that was my first stepping stone. Then I played at university, out at University of British Columbia for 5 seasons. And then from there, I was wondering, what should I do? Should I play CWHL? Or I got this email about the NWHL starting, and I kind of didn't know if it was a real email or not because no one had really heard about the NWHL in the press yet, and especially me living in Canada, wasn't as aware of what's happening with the American League forming, and ended up going to these tryouts. I went to one skate in Toronto at the end of July, and then was invited to the international camp to try out there, and then was signed with the Buffalo Beauts for that founding season, the very first season there. So decided to move away, lived in Buffalo, New York that season. I'm kind of back and forth between Vancouver, Winnipeg in the off season, and then decided to go back to the league again, but for New York, which is a very funny thing to look back on because I was maybe going to go play overseas. And then on the trade deadline, I was like, should I sign to go to Sweden? I was going to play in Stockholm. And I hadn't signed my contract, sent it over yet. It was literally the day I was going to send my contract in overseas. Chad called me, our head coach there and GM of the Riveters, since day one. And he said, hey, do you want to come and play this next season? So I just said, yeah. On the side, I didn't even think about it. I just said, yeah, I for sure want to do it. I've always wanted to live in New York, and I have aspirations to be in media, broadcasting area, maybe an analyst. So something within the realm there. So I was very interested to go out and create some connections within, like, the Devils have been especially great, doing some of their podcasts with them and just their engagement through the season. And then the Rangers Islanders. So that's been really fun for me over the past 2 years. And then, so who would have thought? I thought I'd play 1 season in Buffalo and then that would be it. And then here I am 3 seasons later and 2 seasons with the Riveters. And then just winning the Isobell Cup this year was just a really nice end to the season and my time that I've spent in the NWHL so far. So that kind of takes you through my career, like Winnipeg, Vancouver, New York, pretty much that.
That is awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah,
it's funny because, you know, like I said, I have 2 young daughters. I have a daughter who's 2 years old and I have a daughter who's a week old. So I keep talking to my wife. I'm like, how old do you think they can be when I can start getting them on skates and start getting them playing hockey? And, you know, it's pretty awesome that they have somebody like you to look up to and all the women that play professional hockey. I think it's incredible. My niece actually flew all the way from Seattle with my brother to attend the Riveters had the camp a couple weeks ago, actually. And they flew all the way out from Seattle just to do it. So it was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's truly really means so much to be able to be a role model for girls like your daughter and just young women, and it's not even just females either. I find we've been inspiring little boys and their parents too. And I know growing up, my role models were always male. I always looked up to, especially Drew Doughty and Scott Niedermeyer were my big influencers, which is funny because I developed into a centerman, but they're very offensive defensemen and creative. So I don't know. I always watch them, but now we see the kids going through autograph lines or not even in person. They reach out to me a lot over social media asking questions, or they just want to say congrats or that they're inspired. And that's really cool because, well, I never had that. So I think I'm starting to really wrap my head around the fact of how important it is, what we've done so far. And I take great pride in being a pioneer for women's hockey over the past 2 years, because I thought I was just doing it for the sport at first, but it's actually just built a foundation for the future advancement for young women, hopefully, that, you know, they can dream of being a professional athlete, and that's not just parents giving false encouragement. It actually is true. So it's just it's been very meaningful for me to be in that position.
Tatiana, that's awesome. This is Shorts Guy. Question: What are your thoughts on the state of the NWHL? And I know you touched on the partnership with the Devils, but what are your thoughts on the Devils being involved and the two other teams in our area?
Yeah. What I've realized over my time in the league is like where it was when I first got involved and where it is now. So when I first signed in Buffalo, I think that the social media and things like that were really starting to raise awareness, which was good. And the main things that we need in general to continue to grow and flourish and like put the best possible products on the ice is, well, exposure. And then we also need funding and we need guidance. So that's like the three things I think are the most important moving forward. But I don't know what that means. If it's like the NHL gives us some guidance, or maybe Danny has some people in her ear too. As players, we're not sure like what goes on behind closed doors, But I will say when I first got involved, there were no NHL partnerships. They didn't even exist, and so this year was so powerful to be able to have the Devils come on board with us and partner with us. And there were so many conversations I had where I was talking about how the Devils deal could open similar partnerships with the NHL, but time will tell. Who knows? And then later on in the season, lo and behold, the Buffalo Buttes actually were purchased by Pagula Sports and Entertainment. So that this season has been might seem like a few little things, but having two NHL teams on board that believe in what we're doing and back it, one, for the players, it gives us a sense of credibility and that of accomplishment that we're doing the right thing. And, it gives us some more motivation to keep fighting for, that more equality in our sport. And that was overall, it's just amazing the direction that it's going. And I know that it's moving in a good direction, but my main question is just like, what's next? And no one has that right answer because there's so many possibilities. And then, so it'll be exciting to see what happens with women's hockey, but I know that it will keep growing and building, but the next steps that take place will be quite historic, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope, I've been following you on social media, and I know you've said this before, how you really would love to see the two leagues merge together, which I think would be incredible for women's hockey. And you see what's going on during the Olympics and the national stage and how incredible the game is growing on that side too. You just hope that you see what the Devils have done and what the Sabres have done, that more NHL teams take an initiative to try to help grow the game. And, even I think it would be an awesome idea to bring some of you guys over to the NHL All-Star event and have everybody kind of do like a joined All-Star event where you're doing the skills competition together and, you know, just bringing everybody together that way. And hopefully we watch this, you know, blossom into into the league that it deserves. And I tell you, you guys don't get enough credit and you don't get enough love, but understand that as fans, we love and support you with all of our hearts.
That's so meaningful. Thank you. That sticks with me what you said about bringing the sexes together almost, you know. So I used a hashtag that I've been thinking about. It was hashtag let's come together or something like that, or come together, because I think there's so much focus on what does the women's league need to do, what does the NHL need to do, and then instead of that dialogue, I think it would be really interesting to shift that to how do we come together. I think that's a really important shift that we need in order for us to come up, you know, like bring us with you. I think that's kind of an interesting aspect to think of it. I think more than anything, we just need some guidance. I don't think anyone on any of the NWHL or CWHL teams has asked for, you know, those like $1.2 million contracts or anything like that. We've just been wanting
you deserve it.
That next step, which is what I see as a salary, like a livable wage, where you can just have this job and you don't need secondary income. That's been like the biggest issue I face too as an international player. Like I've needed to talk things through with my family. I've had financial support in order to do what I do. So it's tough. Like I think the livable wages, the leagues coming together, and then just finding, doesn't even need to be the NHL, but I think that we need someone to guide us and someone to take us through this together. So I don't know how many people that needs or what everyone's mindset is about it, but I think overall, what is the possible downside to merging? That would just be the biggest possible move, I would think, that women's hockey needs. So how do we make that happen? And I think that'll be really interesting. You mentioned about combining the All-Star game. I've also heard people, this was not my idea, so I want to take credit for it, but they were saying, I think it was a fan too, they said, why don't you guys play before the Devils? It was something like that. So you could watch the women's hockey before the NHL game that day. So like little things like that where it's like, I think we could be a bit more creative in how we are exposing, like not just through news and things like that, but just how do we get people seeing these female athletes actually playing? Like I think that's the huge thing, because people can see photos of us signing autographs with kids off the ice and stuff like that, but the real magic is on the ice. What we're doing, how powerful we are, strong, the skill, the speed, just the game, and we need more eyes on that. That will be the foundation from where we can grow. So I think as soon as we have that level of exposure we need, I think the funds, the salaries, all of those things will just fall into place. But I think that's like the biggest barrier right now is that, well, here too, we talked about the partnerships with the Devils and the Buffalo Sabres. We also had that Twitter partnership as well. So that was like a next step. And great, but like we need more, right? So it'll be really interesting to see where this goes.
I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but you know, with the U.S. beating Canada in the women's final, that game alone. Sorry if that's a sore subject for you, Tatiana. I you know, being from, you know, with you being from Canada and all, but that final, it there's got to be some way to kind of take that exposure and that excitement and just, you know, completely bring it into the NWHL and to get more fans and more exposure that way too.
That's what a lot of people talk about after the Olympics. So after they watch these incredible women's hockey games, they say, where are they playing before this? It's the question no one can fathom, that, wow, like they're actually training, and where can we watch them? Where can we watch you? And then we don't have like an answer for that, really, you know? So I think it's really improved. I would be curious what the statistics are on how many people were tuning in over Twitter. I actually don't know those numbers, but I know that it's definitely helped get more eyes, more fans on the game from all over the world, which is amazing. But it's like, how do we bridge the next step where we're not just able to access watching women's hockey once every 4 years?
Exactly. And how, like you said before, how you can grow the game and get more people to watch it. And watching you guys play, it's absolutely incredible. Like, the hockey is one of the most beautiful sports to watch, and you know, the product speaks for itself. You know, it's we're here to help try to promote you guys and help you know, grow the game as well. And if there's anything that we could always do, you know, we'd be more than happy to do it. But it's absolutely incredible to see the product on the ice and how well you guys play, and it's just so much fun to watch. It is really so much fun to watch.
Thank you so much. It's so affirming to hear that from, you know, increasing amounts of people wherever I go and whoever I'm talking to. So it's really meaningful that we aren't just doing this and it's going unrecognized. I think a lot of people like yourselves have seen it and they enjoy it and they're inspired and passionate about it and want to see good things happen. So it's things like me being on this podcast with you right now. And so I want to be on air and talking as much about it as I can, because that's our only way to, you know, get the word out. So thank you so much for having players like myself out there to spread the word and yeah, just really fill people in on the reality of what's going on and where we need to go, and that there are things that we need to bridge, and all very important topics, bringing up women's hockey and coming together.
So, Tatiana, how cool was it for you? I saw on your social media that on your Instagram, to be exact, you had your jersey hung up in your sports bar. What was that?
Yeah. So like I mentioned to you earlier, I grew up playing in Winnipeg, and at the community center there, you form friendships, and I have lifelong friendships with some of my friends' parents from those community centers. And then my brother took me up from the airport last night and then said, hey, you got to come to this bar. Like a couple of our family friends had like purchased a bar previously owned by something else. So all management switched over and everything, and they did a bunch of renovations. I didn't really know what we were going into, but we went there, and it's a hockey style bar. There's jerseys hung up all around it, and it's decorated like a hockey rink. So the idea behind their vision is like they're going to bring people in to watch all the Jets games throughout the season and playoffs, and they'll be, you know, more geared to hockey, but just a sports bar. And so I think it's about 3 weeks in their ownership post their renovations and stuff, and it looks fantastic. But so they have NHL jerseys lined up along the wall in their whole back room, and I'm saying, you know, I actually wonder when there'll be a female pro jersey hung up, and then I was talking with him, and he's like, congrats on winning the championship. And then they said, you know what? I said, I have my hockey gear out in my brother's truck. So he just came right from the airport. You guys should put my jersey up. Like, it's in my community, my hometown. And they were super on board with it. They said, you know what, it should go right here because it's the first and only female pro jersey. And it's also the Isobell Cup Championship jersey. And it's right in the center of the whole bar. It's kind of like the focal point in the bar. And that was just like really cool. And really moving for me to see that. So it was a moment of a lot of pride for me, and not just for personally. I'm thinking more so that's awesome that a girl could see that hanging there too. So and know that's possible. So I think the whole thing is just like making it possible for young women to come up and really truly be able to tell like daughters and our nieces, nephews, things like that, that you can be a pro hockey player. You can be anything you want to be, and it's actually true.
That is so cool. That's an awesome story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I got to tell you, I sent you a tweet on Twitter. You're talking about getting a new tattoo. When you're ready, when you come back to the East Coast, when you come back over to New York, let me know, because my wife will hook you up. She's a tattoo artist, so should do something real nice for you.
I was thinking, I'm like, hey, I only thought I'd play the one season in Buffalo, and then here we are, right? But I got the top of the Buffalo Butte logo on my right ankle over the bone. And it's funny that we played the Buttes in the finals too, but thinking I need some Riveters added on there somehow. I'm brainstorming, maybe a little number 7 or something on it, but we'll see.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. You
Yeah,
gotta
definitely.
let us know.
Yeah, definitely. You got to let us know, and you definitely need to get something for for winning the cup there. That's like the perfect tattoo to get.
Yeah, you could get the little cup and put the number 7 on there. And
the only thing with me, it's very funny. I even struggled with my current tattoo I have because I never thought I would get a tattoo ever. So then adding it, and I also know how much it hurts.
it only feels like a sunburn.
Yeah.
If I can do anything. So, yeah, I'll take some time to really think about it.
Well, Tatiana, thank you so much for coming on with us, and thank you for spreading the word about women's hockey and being a pioneer in the sport and being such an amazing role model. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule and just hanging out with us. And it was an absolute honor to have you on with us today.
Yes, I'm so happy to talk to you, and feel free to reach out anytime. I'm always happy to talk hockey.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
and
thank you for coming on.
Yeah, before you go, we got to get your t-shirt size. We'll send you out a t-shirt.
My t-shirt size, probably a medium.
All right. Awesome. All right. We'll send one out to you. We'll get Sam to get all the information.
Yeah, give your information to Sam, and then we'll get a podcast shirt out to you real soon.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, looking forward to it. Thanks so much again.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
Man,
Cool.
that
was
is
awesome.
Quite a thrill right there, man. Quite a thrill.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, having 2 daughters, it's kind of funny. Before my first daughter was born, I was like, man, I hope I have a boy. Like teach him how to play hockey and blah, 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 blah. And then somebody came up to me and said, what's the difference if you have a girl? And I said, you know what? You're right. And
no, it's true.
It is true. And I got to give a lot of credit to, my one friend, Jamie, who told me that. But honestly, Tatiana is such a great role model to have, like all the women in the NWHL. And it makes me so happy to see that the sport is growing. When the Devils did that partnership, I couldn't be happier, because it's like she said, it's what the league needs. They need to have that, that extra step. They got to take that next step to grow the game and to get a little bit bigger. So anything we could do to help spread that message. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And, I know it's not it's a totally different sport, but in the soccer world, you have a lot, I know, at least in Europe, you have a lot of the big clubs also have a women's side associated with the club. So there's a top level men's side and a top level women's side. There is a professional league here in the States too, and some of the teams get huge support, like specifically Portland, but they're also soccer nuts out there. It's great to see. Women's sports is definitely coming. It's making great strides, and with players like Tatiana and and all of her teammates, winning the cup and getting all they need is more exposure. They've definitely got the skills, and they've got the championship, they've got the heart. They just need so much more in exposure too. Just like she said, she's right.
Yeah, I apologize to one of our fans asked a question. that we didn't get a chance to get to, which was how it was playing at the Rock. So I apologize about that. But I mean, honestly, it is something that's important, not just for women's hockey, but for the state of hockey in general. I've been saying it for years that hockey is one of the most underappreciated sports. I listen to a local sports station every single morning on my way to work. And the only time you get a mention of hockey is in passing, and it's not even that much of a mention. And it drives me crazy because, you have a situation where the Devils make the playoffs. You have Taylor Hall, who's having an incredible lights out season. And if it was any other sport, you would be getting wall-to-wall coverage of it. You'd get to nauseum. In fact, you'd be getting beaten over the head with like how incredible this player is. And I think it's, it drives me crazy because you see the passion. We got to hang out with Grant Marshall last night. How cool was that guy? You know what I mean?
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Tatiana, like, how nice is she? Like, everybody I've come across that is or was a professional athlete in the hockey realm has always been incredibly kind and nice and willing to give their time. And I don't know if there's any way we could help grow the game on both sides. I think we should.
You know what though? I think we see it through a whole different perspective here where we live, where we have such a saturated sports market, where we've got 2 football teams, 2 baseball teams, 2 basketball teams, three hockey teams, 3 soccer teams, and excuse me, not 3, we have 4. It's just we're so oversaturated that I think in any other city you would hear so much more about what's going on with hockey. It's just a matter of we're such an oversaturated sports market. And unfortunately, the big 3 reign supreme. Even though, a lot of the local teams suck in those major 3. With
but I mean, even if Riveters winning the Isobell Cup, you would think that you would hear a mention of it on the radio, and that's the thing is nothing, and that's what sucks.
We knew about it because we're hockey fans. That sucks. We knew about it because we're hockey fans, and it does suck. And they should get that exposure. It's, I'm curious what exposure is, in a place like Buffalo where there's really only one team, per sport. Yeah, well,
where the Bills are a serious deal up there.
No, the Bills are a serious deal, but I'm talking about like a market where it's not saturated like it is here, where they've got, where you don't have multiple teams.
Yeah, exactly. And Matt on our Facebook group just said, this is the most profound statement I think that we've gotten all year, and it's true. It is, as the mantra goes, hockey is for everyone, and it's so true. It's one of the great equalizers, and everybody can play. Everybody and anybody can play. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about sports, and especially hockey. I've been coaching hockey for 10-some years now. And I coach, outdoor roller hockey. And one of the coolest things that I get to experience is that I get girls and boys on my team. It's always a mix. There's always a few girls that play in the league. And I think that is one of the coolest things. My niece plays hockey. My sister-in-law is better hockey than I'm ever going to be, it's pretty, I think it's a sport that you can see men and women playing, and you can see them playing equally, and I hate anybody. I going on social media, you see someone with verbal diarrhea where they're like, they won the Isobell Cup, but they would never be able to play against an NHL team. Who cares? That stuff's garbage. Like, you shouldn't even be saying that. You should be saying like, congratulations for accomplishing like winning a championship in an amazing sport and as amazing athletes, and that's all that matters.
Agreed. And I have to echo your sentiments because at the high school level here in New Jersey, there are very few teams that have boys and separate boys and girls teams for ice hockey. And the school I coach for has just, if you can skate and you want to come out and play, come out and play. And we have this past season, we had our second girl that we've ever had on the team. The first one was a goalie. I got to work with her, a lot because, that's really the position I coach with. And then the other, the one that was just a freshman this year was actually one of my students last year. And she, she came on to the team as a freshman, which is great. And it's so cool to see that, and having that mixed team at the high school level is pretty cool. And then there are other teams throughout the the league and teams we played that also do have girls on the team. So it's getting bigger, and I know that there are girl specific programs, at least here in North Jersey, that are quite successful too. So it's definitely growing, which is awesome.
Yeah, and being a teacher as well, I have a lot of students. I teach elementary school, and I have a lot of students that are girls that are hockey players, and they love the fact that I have, I'm an art teacher, but I have Devils stuff in my room, and I represent the team in the art room, and they'll say, oh, Mr. Fora, like I play hockey too, and we'll sit down, we talk about it, and I think it's the coolest thing, and I tell them how, one day I hope that my girls, like not just like hockey, but want to play hockey, and I think it's for me, it's being a father. If my daughter wanted to play hockey and she wasn't given the opportunity to do so, I don't know what I would do. I'd be beyond upset about that. So knowing that there's programs out there that, she, if she wanted to, can go out and play is an incredible thing.
I don't think
Sam.
your daughters have any choice. I don't think they have any choice.
No, they
don't.
Wait a second. They don't call you Mr. Beer Baron?
No, they don't. They don't. What's funny is like there's a few people at my job that know about the podcast and what we do, and they're like, "Oh, that's so fun! We watched it and blah blah blah. You guys do such an amazing job. Why do they call you the Beer Baron?" I'm like, it's a long story. It's a long story. It's an homage to the it's an homage to the Simpsons, basically. I got it from the Simpsons, and it was just it was a pen name that I used for a long time. And then people started calling me that because of Sam.
Todd McConnell says Bruce Shriver has made a big push for girls hockey in New Jersey. Absolutely correct.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
He definitely
100%.
Yeah. Which, by the way, rumor has it he may be coming onto the podcast very soon, huh?
Yeah, that is the rumor. That's the rumor.
There's a lot of rumors going on at the Let's Go Devils podcast right now.
Let's just say we're growing.
Speaking of that, we have to we should real quick discuss what our playoff possibilities are, because I know we're coming close to the end of our program tonight. So
yes,
we start Thursday, regardless of who we play, whether it's Tampa. Right now it's Tampa, because the score of the Florida-Boston game is Florida is winning 2-1 with 4 minutes and 16 seconds left. Whether that goes overtime or not, who knows?
Wait, I have it that they're winning 3-2 with 5:04 left.
Why am I always? I'm always wrong. And I'm, there you go, 3-2. Boom! I had to refresh. I'm looking at the first period score. I can't do anything right tonight. I'm exhausted. Sorry. Anyway, Panthers are winning. I gotta get some sleep.
I feel bad for the Panthers. They came so close to getting into the playoffs.
They did, and that's. And someone posted this somewhere on one of the groups saying, "Oh, what should the league do with the Panthers?" And after going through the debacle of winning the Cup in '95 and then that summer possibly having the Devils move, I am not for any team relocating because of that feeling, and I'm sure you remember it too. That feeling of your team being ripped away from you is just the worst. Anyway, that's a sidebar. I had to bring up.
I remember reading the newspaper every single day because this is really before the internet. Not to date ourselves a little much, but you'd have to get your information the old-fashioned way, either the newspaper or local news. And I used to read the newspaper every single day. And in '95, I was 13, 14 years old, right? So
you were probably seventh. You were probably seventh going in 8th grade, just like I was.
Yeah, exactly. Because we were both born in '82. Graduates of 2000. I remember that was, but I remember reading the paper and I was like, I've always liked hockey, but I'd say around 92 when I was about like 11 years old, I really started getting into it, and then I started growing and growing and growing. I remember crying like a baby when Mateau scored that goal, and then the next year crying like a baby when the Devils won the cup. And like all the credit in the world goes to my brother who got me into hockey 100%. But I remember when they were getting ready to move, and I was devastated. And I remember reading about Nashville, and I was devastated. I was like, "No, I just got into this. Like, please don't take it away."
And then the iconic picture of Chris Terreri with the Nashville No Way sign at the parking lot party. That was awesome. Yeah, they didn't want to go, and that was that. So I had to bring that up. So, but because I agree that the Panthers fought so hard at the end, and they just kind of fell short. However, they do play the role of spoiler tonight. Just as far as the Bruins not finishing above Tampa right now, and it's still 3-2. There's 1:48 to go. So right now it's looking like Tampa, which we will have regardless of opponent. Schedule is Game 1 Thursday, Game 2 Saturday, and let me scroll down to see if it's the same time for both games for Saturday. Yep, 3:00 Saturday is Game 2. Ooh, that's gonna be a fun day.
I'll tell you what, I like those early afternoon, or not early afternoon, but I like those afternoon games. You kind of, as long as they win. But the game ends, and you could still have the rest of your night where you're not stewing about it too long if they win or lose. Because I'll tell you what, if they lose, I'm miserable, and I'm inconsolable sometimes. But if they win, it's a late game. Like I have such a hard time going to sleep because I'm sitting there watching.
Oh yeah, that's also Saturday too. So, but whatever. So Saturday at 3, and then we're looking Monday 4-2. All right, so we're looking more and more like we're playing Tampa.
That's Tampa Bay.
All right, so we've got. It must have been an empty net, would be my assumption. All right, so then Monday we're home. We're home Monday at 7:30 and Wednesday at 7:30 as well. Those are our first 2 home games. We then we go from Wednesday to Saturday away. That would be Game 5 if necessary. Game 6 would be Monday again, returning home, and then a potential Game 7 would be Wednesday away on April 25th. So that is our playoff schedule for the next 2 weeks. So there's everyone's, mine, yours, everyone's life will now revolve around those 7 games that I just read.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we don't go that far. Hopefully we win it much sooner than 7. But I'll go to 7 if that's what it takes. What's also good about that early afternoon game on Saturday is if it goes into like double, triple overtime, you're not up real late.
Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, I agree.
And here we are, what? Hey, just by bringing that up, we sound so old. We're not, though.
I know. I mean, I kind of am now, but it's like
you're not older than that,
dude. 2 kids, but like about 10 years on you. No, but honestly, I say that, but my wife does all the work. Who am I kidding? Yeah, but last night, towards the end of the night, we're all hanging out, and the game's kind of winding down, and you and I were standing next to each other, and you said something that I thought was so cool. You were like, look around. We're losing and nobody cares right now. This is like exactly what we
everyone's
wanted.
Having so much fun. Yeah. And we have to do some shout outs here for yesterday. So first of all, we have to shout out to your father-in-law, Jeff, and Tavern on the Rocks for hosting us and having sound on and basically letting us just do our thing, which was so cool. We've got to thank Grant Marshall for showing up. Yes. We also have to thank Melissa Dawn and Kelly Williams for all the work that they did, hustling all afternoon. We also have to thank Maureen, who we gave the bullhorn to.
Yep.
And she was also hustling out there too. And everyone who came out, all of our friends. Sammy, am I forgetting anyone there? I probably am, but
all the bartenders that were there last night, Johnny Eggroll for kicking ass, and everybody just the whole event was incredible. And I know we were kind of whispering about possibly if the Devils make a good run down the playoffs, maybe doing another one down there. So who knows? But last night was amazing. You couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah. No, agreed. Sam, you're happy with it?
I was very happy. I'm exhausted. I'm so exhausted.
We all are.
I think we all are. I mean, there were a lot of Devils fans that showed up, and they showed up in numbers, and it was a sea of red by 6 o'clock. So it was a great time.
Truthfully, I was nervous when I got there about how many people were going to show up, and I was honestly blown away by the amount of people that ended up being there. I thought that was so cool, so much fun.
I was beyond nervous before we started. It was weird seeing everybody like looking at us when we started, and I
staring at us. Yeah.
If you've ever seen the movie Old School, I just get to the point where I get that Will Ferrell and I black out and just and I don't come to until everything's all over.
Yeah, because the three of us always see it, and we're gonna open up the curtain a little bit. There's 3 little boxes on our screens here, and that's how we see each other during the podcast. We're not used to. I mean, the only other person that's live here listening right now is my cat, who's not paying attention to me. She's the only person here. She's the only other creature that's here, and she doesn't even care. So that was so odd and so nerve-wracking to see other people, but. And we officially have the Tampa Bay Lightning.
That's it. So Tampa Bay it is.
It's over.
And you know what?
We officially have the Lightning. Thursday, April 12th.
Please, Devil fans, please, for the love of God, do not look at the regular season and say this is a shoo-in. Because it's not. It's a new season. They got to take care of business. 0-0 right now. A whole different beast. Because if you lose a game during the regular season, you can shake it off and be like, whatever, we'll get back to it. You lose one in the playoffs, it's a lot different. So, oh my God, nervous energy settling in already.
Should we threaten playing Eddie Lack against the Lightning?
I mean, hey, to answer our question from earlier tonight, what happens if the wheels fall off of Kincaid? Here comes Eddie Lack to the rescue. So
yeah. That should be all the marketing. Watch out, Tampa. Here comes Eddie Lack.
Yeah, right? Oh, my God.
Well. I hear the music, Sam.
I'm too afraid to pull the plug. We've got people joining in right now. Just because Tampa... Just because we're playing Tampa now.
All right, so maybe we'll give him an extra 5. Give him an extra 5. I'm down for that.
All right, I'll cut the music.
We can get an extra 5. So, all right.
We're in overtime right now.
Overtime, sudden death.
Overtime. And it's not going to be like a Stanley Cup playoff overtime. It's going to be regular season overtime, 5 minutes. We're not going to go forever. But yeah, so now it's a little bit more complicated than if we played Boston, because now you have to figure out a little bit extra time for travel. Because even though Florida's not real far away, the flight to Tampa is still longer than getting up to Boston.
Yeah.
So in this week's preparation, which on both scenarios prepped out, I can't imagine they didn't. So now there's got to be now do you travel early and get settled down in Tampa? Do you stay here, the comforts of home, and everything that's around, and travel, maybe the day before? There was, who knows? I mean, it's a whole new game. We knew how Lou ran the Devils with an iron fist when it came to playoffs, which is a question I meant to ask Grant yesterday, which I'll ask him next time.
Repeat customer.
Yeah, right. So how is this new management and ownership group and new coaching staff going to treat the playoffs for these players?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we had a great question from David on the Facebook group asking, who is going to be the key player besides Hall and Nico. You got to think Palmieri is going to step in huge. Kincaid. You hit it right on the head. Kincaid's got to be the best player. It's not even a question of like who can be or who should be. He has to be the best player for the Devils. And I know that goes without saying, but
And you know what? I know there were games that over the course of the season where he let in a bunch of goals. I think back specifically to that to the game against Chicago. But in a lot of those games, they let him stay in net and work through it, which I think is huge. If we get into that situation, we're going to be able to work through it. And he's got that he has that experience to do so.
No, I agree. He has down the stretch. I think the last 20 games of the season, he had a better record than Halbach and a better record than Bobrovsky. So he had the best record in the NHL coming down the stretch. A lot of people will poo-poo that statement or get rid of that. That's a huge accomplishment. Rolling down a stretch, really playing in some meaningful games, and that's the biggest part too. It wasn't like the Devils clinched 2 weeks out. They clinched damn near the end of the season. You know what I mean? So he had to play games that were playoff atmosphere games. He's primed and ready. I think the whole team is primed and ready. You want to see guys like Palmieri take it to the next level, which he can. You want to see guys like Travis Zajac step into the role that you know he can, winning big faceoffs. Boyle, same. I think this team is primed to make some noise.
I'm real excited to see Taylor Hall in the playoffs.
Oh my God.
You got to think that this is the biggest thing to have finally made the playoffs, to be here. You got to imagine that he's going to come out in game 1 on Thursday, and he's just going to be. You hope he's just lights out and just goes nuts and leads this team to a victory. You have to think that it's in the back of his mind last year, seeing all of his old teammates go to the playoffs. Finally, the year after, the season he gets traded. The first season he's not there, they go to the playoffs. So you got to think he heard from them a couple of them too. And then finally he's here and they're not. So if he did hear from them, he's going to be getting, texting them back or calling them. But I'm excited to see him play.
And you know how many people pointed to him last year when they made the playoffs and said that was the problem. He was the reason why we couldn't get in, and now we're in. Look, we got rid of Taylor Hall, and now we're in the playoffs. Like, look at what's happening. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He can put all that to bed. He can put that all to bed, not only because he's in the playoffs now, but because Edmonton didn't make it, and they had a terrible season. Mm-hmm. So last year they just caught lightning in a bottle. They had, Lucic coming over, and he was a huge part of it. This year he had a terrible season. I can't wait. I just can't wait to see this team. I can't wait to see the young kids going in there. I can't wait to see. And you got to think too, Butcher is coming from a program that just won the national championship the year before, right? Nico Hischier is coming in from, a very pretty much illustrious career too in juniors and all these kinds of things, right? So you have guys that are used to winning coming to a team that is now getting into the playoffs. I understand it's a completely different atmosphere and a completely different beast, but young and dumb, right? Young and dumb. You just hope they go in there without a care in the world and just pedal the metal and rock and roll. Blake Coleman, he's one of the guys I'm really excited to see because that dude is just a firecracker, and you got to think that there's going to be he's going to be stirring it up. So
I'm pumped for this. Oh yeah. Looking at the Facebook group, Matt McCronin makes a good point. He says that the Devils, are definitely not only been playing playoff games for the last couple weeks, but Tampa has kind of fallen off the mark too in the last couple weeks. They just have not been the dominant force that they were. Granted they do finish on top of their division. I think it was 113 points from what I last remember seeing. But and I always screw up his name, but Vasilevsky hasn't been playing very well either. So
is that curse of?
Oh, the President's Trophy.
Well, not even the no. Yeah, what I was gonna say, it's the curse of like having clinched so far out and being so far ahead of everybody for so long. They had such a cushion for a majority of the year. I think by Christmas break they were in such a comfortable spot that it didn't even matter. Like they had such a lead on everybody. that they jumped out ahead of everybody so fast, so quick. You know, teams like that take their foot off the pedal towards the end of the year, and you can't blame them because they're like, dude, we have a cushion. Who cares? You know, like it's fine.
Yeah. And then we've been fighting for it since we've been fighting for it for the last couple of weeks just to get in, and now that we're here, we have some chances, and that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, and Robert brings up a great point. What do you think about that Zaka line now? Let me tell you what, Zaka's game has evolved greatly in the last couple months. And if he's not scoring like you would hope he would score, but the dude is a different. Okay, let me take a step back. Zaka to me, only because there's one thing that drives me crazy about him. Zaka to me, when he is on, is a dominant player. His size, he can stay on the puck really well. He has great vision. He can pass the puck in some really tight areas. He also makes a lot of bonehead plays. You know, the other night he has a behind the back pass to nobody into the middle of the ice, and thank God Kincaid made a monster save. But when he's on, he's on, and I think his line is going to be great. But I think the most important line is the Zajac line against Stamkos and against their top line, because you know they're going to put the Zajac, Nason, and Coleman line out there against the top line of Tampa Bay. And does this not ring true of the Pandolfo Madden days? Like, doesn't that just feel like the Pandolfo Madden days? You put out your top line, here comes Pandolfo and Madden to eat up your entire top line.
And look at all the teams that we've played in the last 3-4 weeks and last month and a half, I guess, really, that we've just been able to shut down and beat. I mean, again, think back to that Vegas game. You know, that's one of the standouts of that whole trip, you know, of the second half of the season, possibly. You know, that line is just going to they have a task ahead of them, but they've proved that they can do it, and they absolutely can continue to do it. It's going to be fun to watch. Yeah, I was just looking at it too about Maroon.
Yeah, Pat Maroon. Miles Wood, you know, like you look up and down this lineup and you just see guys that are fit the mold of what Ray Shero was trying to put together. You know, this is such a well orchestrated team. You know, you have Taylor Hall, which last night, I don't know, I know you and I talked about it a little bit after the game, or you know, not after the podcast was over. How different the game looked because you didn't have Hall, Palmieri, Zajac, Kincaid, and you know, Vatanen in the lineup, and it just they were getting outplayed by, you know, Washington at some points. And this team, oh my God, up and down the lineup, I'm excited to see what they can do.
And we've got a couple options at some of the third and fourth line positions too, to where if someone goes into a funk, we've got someone we can slot in, like we were talking about, you know, Mojo, he's waiting in the wings. You know, it's a matter of who do you take out. And we have that, we've talked about it all season, that awesome problem of who do you take out to put someone just as good in? It's been a problem we've had all season. And we're going to, having that for the playoffs too, especially with injuries. Injuries come up during the playoffs and guys play injured. Sometimes if they can't, if it gets too far gone and they need a replacement, having someone that can slot in is having that depth on that bench, and you know the guys waiting to get on that bench is awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Stacey White, how you doing? So, anyways, but you see like a guy like Gibbons, right? Gibbons, I feel like is such an important part of this team because he's a great penalty killer. He brings a dynamic to the lineup. I said earlier, I was like, oh, maybe you would take him out and you would put Johansson into the lineup. But then again, like Johansson hasn't played in a very long time. So you got to think like there's going to be some rust on those wheels. Do you really want to bring him in to a situation where he's going to have to jump in the beginning of the series? Do you bring him in the middle of the series? Yeah. Slot him in? How much do you juggle the lines? Like I said, I'm glad I don't have to worry about those things where I could just sit back and watch it. But
if you did have to worry about those things, you'd be getting paid a lot of money to worry about those things. I don't think you'd have a problem with it. And this is the situation where, with Johansson, that it's not like we have the opportunity to send him down to Binghamton to get a conditioning game or two in. And he's just, if he does come in, he's just got to be thrown right into the mix.
Yeah, but at least he has playoff experience, so that it's not like somebody that's never been there before. It's a great problem to have if you have to keep him out, because at least you have somebody with that much skill. But then it can, you have to see what the matchup is. Do you take out and this is what we're saying before. And if you're just tuning in now, we kind of went over this a little bit, but now that we know we're playing Tampa Bay is a fast team, a fast, skillful team, So do you match speed with speed? Or do you try to throw some size in there to slow them down? You know what I mean? So you take out Maroon, you put Johansson in, try to go speed for speed. You keep Maroon in and you go size against speed, but you still have that speed behind it. You still have a Grabner, you still have Wood, you still have Hall, who's just as fast. I'm so happy that they're in the playoffs right now.
I know, so am I.
And we get to talk about it. This is awesome.
David suggested in Grabner for Johansson. I don't know about that, because Grabner has that insight to how some of those Rangers that Tampa has can play, and some tendencies we can maybe use against them.
And he is amazing on the PK. And if you don't think he is, you're out of your mind, because trust me, I think Johansson's an amazing player, but he's been out for a very long time. Grabner, with his speed, the way he can kill penalties, there's no way that you can take him out of the lineup. And he has playoff experience too, so it's kind of like a wash in that aspect. But you got to go with somebody that can help you out in the special teams, especially against Tampa Bay, who has a deadly power play. So you really want to keep Grabner in the lineup if I were them. It's hard. It's hard to mess with the chemistry of like a team that's been rolling this well going down the stretch.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm ready to get it started. It's going to be a lot of talk, and I know there's going to be a lot of talk between the three of us leading up to Thursday. There's going to be a lot of talk online. There's going to be a lot of speculation online to what they're going to do and who they're going to sit, who they're going to play. But it's a conversation we have. I know it's a conversation that we haven't had since 2012. It's been a very long time.
In that first series against the Panthers, remember, like, that wasn't a guarantee that they were going to get past the Panthers. It was like forever that the Devils got past the first round. Since 2003, they didn't get past a second round, I believe, or maybe they got past this. They got into the second round like once, but never got past the second round. Either way, it's awesome to have this conversation, because they're going into the playoffs. Matt on our Facebook chat group brought up a great reference to the Zajac Nason line. It kind of reminds him of the Gianta, Carter, and Bernier line in 2012, which I loved that line. That was one of the most exciting fourth lines.
Everyone loved that line.
Yeah. I mean, let's hope they can capture some of that magic, because those guys were absolutely clutch. And I remember Gianta came in the last game of the season and just jumped into the playoffs. So
kind of a quick funny story about 2012 in the playoffs. I had access to see the written version of the post-game press conferences. I don't know if I can say where I got them from or not, but anyway, have access to these post-game press conferences where they write up what all the questions were and what the coaches said. And the best ones were against the Rangers. Pete DeBoer would be asked questions, long, good answers. And then Tortorella would get asked questions. What did you think of what went wrong tonight? We lost. And that was the end of that answer. It was so awesome to read. The DeBoer side of it was like 2-3 pages, and the Tortorella was like 3/4 of a page. It was hysterical to read. It was so great. What happened tonight? We didn't play well. Done.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was comical.
As much as a lot of people don't like Tortorella, he cracks me up sometimes. I mean, he's
agreed.
he's great for one-liners, that's for sure. And speaking of, I don't like to talk about the Rags too much, but how fast things have changed over there. Firing Alain Vigneault.
And there was an article that came out almost immediately after the game saying that he was expecting to stay with the organization, and then not a mere hour or two later, he was fired. It was
not
crazy.
For nothing. He's not really been known to build talent, so he's usually the type of guy that you give the keys to a Ferrari and ask him to drive it without crashing. So,
which he's crashed it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, exactly. So, it's oh wow, so Bruins Maple Leafs.
That's going to be a good one.
That's going to be a great series. Lightning Devils, Capitals Blue Jackets. It's going to be a bruiser of a series, if you ask me. Penguins Flyers, awesome series.
Yeah,
which means one of those teams is getting eliminated, which is great.
Yep.
I'll tell you, the East. There's a lot of fun matchups, and you said something really before that I agree with 100%. Even when the Devils weren't in the playoffs, I would still watch playoff hockey.
Oh yeah,
for these reasons. You see the matchups that are coming out right now, and it's like, they're going to be good series. The Devils are going to have I think it's going to be a fast-paced 6-game, 7-game series. Maybe that's what we should do right
agreed.
Now. What are your predictions of the series?
I'm gonna say we win it at home in 6.
I agree. I think they can take the series, and I think they can take it in 6. I think they do a split in the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
Come home, take the 2 at home, lose game 5, come back, win game 6.
Yeah. I mean, I'll gladly take the Devils winning in any combination of games.
I agree, yeah.
But I think that they can definitely do it in 6. They just gotta. I just don't. In the back of my mind, I just don't want them to get lulled into that false sense of security. We already beat them all the games we played them this year. What's another 4? That's the only thing I'm worried about. That and the atmosphere of playoff hockey is completely different, which can work for you or work against you. And I really hope that it works for us. And then we just come out and we dominate. It's going to be so much fun to just watch this team into the playoffs. Again, Taylor Hall being there, and then you got a player like Nico, who's first season in the league, and here he is in the playoffs. Who we got the little insight from Grant that in a joking way saying that they hated those players, but everyone's happy to be there. So it's just going to be such a good time, and I'm looking at all the other games. So let's see if they.
I was just looking at the West, and even the West is so you got the Golden Knights first time in the league, first time in. So if they hate players like Nico, then they got to hate organizations like Vegas. So Vegas being a number 1 seed. God, I just have to stop real quick. God bless Seattle. Okay, they're going to be the next expansion team. I don't know if they've announced what year they're going to be joining in. I don't think it's next year, maybe the year after. When they come to the league, holy crap, do you have a lot of high expectations that Vegas just set for you. So Vegas coming in number 1 seed, going against the Kings. The Kings aren't like they used to be, but they're still a damn good hockey team.
Yeah.
Then you have the Ducks and the Sharks.
I heard someone even predicting Kings over Vegas. I heard
Wouldn't
that
surprise
prediction.
me the slightest.
No.
Although you got to think that the Golden Knights have Fleury, and you got to think that Fleury is going to carry that team because they have a lot to prove, or he's got a lot to prove. God, imagine I hate to say this, but imagine like a Golden Knights Penguins series. Stanley Cup
No,
final.
no,
I hope that's not it, but I'm just saying.
that means because we're not in it. But yeah, no, I see where you're going with that. And my guess is this is all going to, with Pittsburgh Phillies going to be like the premier game on Wednesday that everyone's going to have on TV.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
and
then
there's that one last series that you were probably going to mention, but I cut you off. The Anaheim San Jose series.
Yes, that is going to be a grueling series, to say the least.
Oh, absolutely.
Any of those California teams hate each other.
And that's
right?
great.
So,
I love it. I love it.
So do I. It just makes for better hockey.
Oh, I agree.
Then
Well, you know what?
Colorado.
You brought up, Pittsburgh Vegas series just because of the Fleury connection. What about a Devils Ducks repeat with Henry coming back and Vatanen going back? How about that?
Right? A little history there.
My gosh.
Paul Mary playing against the Ducks.
Jeez.
And I think we got Nason from the Ducks. Either Ducks or Devils.
And Maroon. Didn't Maroon play in the Ducks too?
Did play the Ducks, for a little bit. I think there's like a few guys that did. Lovejoy did.
Yep.
So, and then you had the Predators, Avalanche. You know what you want to do? This is what we could do. Why don't we go down the whole list? We'll give a quick prediction of who you think is going to win. We'll leave the Devils series last. So we'll go in the East. Boston, Toronto.
All right, I'm going to write this down because I know otherwise I'm going to forget. Do we want to do just straight prediction of the winner, or winner in what? How many games?
Winner in games, I say. And if anybody listening on Facebook, or Twitter, or anything else, you guys can chime in. Send your predictions our way. Take a screenshot of it, save it. We'll
There's got to be a bracket challenge that we can set up. There's got to be some kind of a bracket challenge we can set up. I think that would be cool. We got to look into this. We probably should have looked into this.
Hey man, this is all on the fly.
I know.
Maybe the winner of our bracket challenge wins a shirt.
We can do that. We can do the winner of our bracket challenge. Can win a shirt. Yeah. Which, by the way, see, I hung up my signed Grant Marshall one for the podcast.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
All right, so Boston,
and
Toronto.
Sam, you can chime in too, by the way.
Yeah, Sam, add your thoughts in this one. All right, Beer Baron, Boston, Toronto.
All right, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say Toronto, but I'm gonna say Toronto in 7.
Okay.
I'm doing all this blind. I'm not looking at past matchups. I'm not looking at what they've done in the regular season against each other. I'm doing this 100% blind.
Yeah, I'm doing it blind too. Sam, we're not talking about the Rangers. We don't need the Rangers music. Man. 2, 3. You know what? Something tells me Boston in 6 with this, so I'm going Boston 6.
All right. I think they're young, they're fast, I don't know. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna do them blind.
All right.
All right. So Washington Blue Jackets.
I'm going Washington in 5.
I don't know. I'm gonna give the Blue Jackets a little bit more credit. I'll do Washington in 6.
All right.
I'm going to do the BJs at 7.
Ooh. What's your first prediction on the first series? The Maple Leafs Bruins series. Who do you have?
Toronto in 7.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Sam going out of the gate with 2 Game 7s.
Yeah, right.
You work for the NHL marketing department.
Now, my prediction for this one ultimately would be both teams destroy each other, and there is no winner.
A meteor.
However,
hits.
Yes, Pittsburgh, Philly. I know how many games I'm predicting this one to go, but I don't know who I want to win or who I think is going to win.
I'm going to lean towards experience. I'm going to say Pittsburgh in 6. Once again, I am not looking at any what they did during the regular season, but I'm going to say Pittsburgh in 6.
I'm going to go Pittsburgh as well, but I'm going to say it's going to go 7.
I think every one of these has the potential of going 7.
I agree. Sam. Watch her wrong and everything's a sweep. Sam, what do you got?
Yeah, right.
Flyers sweep.
Wow.
Hey, that's because you're friends with Bill Clement. That doesn't count.
I was going to say the same thing.
No, here are my reasons. Here are my reasons.
All right.
Who won the Stanley Cup last year?
Penguins.
Yeah.
Who won the Stanley Cup previously? Before last, the Penguins. It's got to end sometime. It's got to end sometime.
I don't think it's going to end with Philadelphia, though.
No.
I don't think Philadelphia's got the goaltending. Although
they don't have Marc-Andre Fleury. They don't have Marc-Andre Fleury.
Listen, nobody has a flower.
He didn't look. Yeah, but he wasn't a factor last year.
He was a locker room presence. He was a locker room presence. That's all I have to say.
All right. So I said Devils in 6. You had Devils in what?
I agreed. Devils in 6.
Okay. I'm trying to keep this by conference. I know we should probably have left Devils to the end, but whatever. Sam?
Okay.
I'm going Devils at 5.
That's my boy.
Ooh.
All right. You had me worried. I thought you were going to throw everybody on a curveball and be like, Lightning in 7. I would have thrown my headset up in the air. Walked away.
All right. What I'm gonna do is, it looks really sloppy, but I'm gonna take a picture of my pad that I wrote this on and post it to the group. I'll rewrite it and then I'll take a picture. All right. So Nashville, Colorado.
Nashville, Colorado. I'm gonna say Nashville in 5. Colorado's a hot team right now, but Nashville's Nashville, and they're damn good.
I'm going to go Nashville with a sweep.
I'm going Colorado at 7, and it's going to be on a BS call, and there's going to be catfish sent to Gary Bettman in New York.
Again, which happened a week ago when we were hoping that they beat the Panthers in that game.
Yeah. All right. Now we've moved on to Jets Wild.
Jets sweep.
We actually, you know what we should have done? We should ask Tatiana what she thought who was going to win that series. We'll have to reach out to her online and ask what she thinks.
Yeah.
I know. But I would like to have heard what she, how many games she would have thought. All right. So you say Jets sweep, right?
I say Jets sweep. I'll tweet her right now and see if she responds.
She said that she's going to cheer for the Jets and the Devils for the NHL playoffs.
Love it. All right. Jets in 4 for Beer Baron. Sam?
I hate the Jets.
We're not talking about the Green Jets.
Oh, okay. Jets at 7.
Man, 7 for the Jets. I'm going to go with Jets as well, but I'm going to go Jets in 5. That you know that place is going to be nuts.
Dude, they're a really, really solid team too. That's what a lot of people don't realize is how deep that team is. They're scary good.
I was there when the Devils played them. They were incredible.
They have so much depth and so much talent, and they're one of those teams that you don't think about the Winnipeg Jets, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I forgot they have Dustin Byfuglien and Blake Wheeler,
Jets, yeah.
and they go on, and Patrick Laine, and the list goes on and on, and they're just
let me tell you, a Winnipeg Jets home game in the playoffs, before they get out of the ice, they start playing Top Gun, and they've got like smoke. They've got smoke. They've got the black lights on, and everyone's waving their towels, and you're hearing that Top Gun soundtrack. And then they're like, "And welcome your Winnipeg Jets," and everyone's just going crazy. It's like a mini soccer game.
See, if the Devils play the Jets, if the Devils play the Jets in the finals, I think we got to take the podcast on the road.
Just that would be pretty amazing. You know,
we'll stay over at Tatiana's. We'll stay over at Tatiana's in Winnipeg.
Yeah, we just invited ourselves. All right, so let's get these last 2 rounds done. Knights, okay. Kings.
I'm gonna say Marc-Andre Fleury is on a different level right now. I'm gonna say the Golden Knights. Knights to throw in the Kings in 6.
Sam?
Knights in 6.
I'm going to go Vegas as well. But I don't like that 3-number combination there. So I'm going to go Vegas in 7. And the final, Anaheim against San Jose. Could be a possible death match.
A little part of me is going to be rooting for Adam Henrique. Cannot lie. A little part of me is going to say, is going to wish Adam Henrique the best until we have to meet them in the Stanley Cup Finals, if that's the case. But the Sharks are the Sharks. They're so unpredictable. They are so good. They have so much talent. But what team is going to show up? Is it going to be the Sharks of 2 years ago when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals? Or is it going to be the Sharks that get that first-round knockout? So, God, this is one of the harder ones to predict. I will say San Jose in 7. And that's a shaky 7 because I have no idea who is actually going to win that series. That's a hard series to predict.
Sam?
San Jose in 9. It's going to be a 9. No. It's going to be a 9-game series. It's going to go into a lot of overtimes, but San Jose in 7.
All right, cool.
All right, man.
I'm going Ducks in 7.
Ducks in 7, yeah. But see, I would go either way. And like you said, watch sweep.
Yeah, right. Because let's see, and let me just run down the line here. I've predicted 3 Game 7s. Sam has predicted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Game 7s, and Beer Baron, you only have 2 Game 7s, but a slew of Game 6s. Sam's looking for like maximum capacity for playoff games.
All of a sudden, that backdrop in his room just drops down into a huge NHL insignia on the wall.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wait a second, Scooby Doo. Pull Sam's mask off. It's really Gary Bettman.
Oh man, let's not even think about that. So I have them written down. I've got them written down here, and I will post it in the group. And I'll just post the way it's written right now. It's sloppy as anything, but I'll post how it's written now. So it's
understandable.
It's understandable. It's our predictions. There we go. Those are our predictions. So we'll post that to the group. You can chime in. All the listeners chime in. Make your picks, and we'll see if there's some official bracket challenge that we can set up to where the winner will get a shirt. And the 3 of us already have shirts, so we're not getting one. We already have one.
Yeah. We just win. We just win satisfaction and gratitude.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or you know what? Here's what we can do between the 3 of us. The 3 of us. Whoever wins between the 3 of us takes the other 2 out. Oh wait, no. The other 2 has to buy that person a beer. Something
All
like
right.
that.
At Tavern on the Rocks.
At Tavern on the Rocks.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Tavern on the Rocks.
All right. Hey, I think I
We're
might
doing
have
a live
found
podcast during the Stanley Cup Finals.
I think I have found the bracket challenge. So I'm going to see if I can set this up and I'll post it to the group.
Awesome.
Okay,
So
great.
by next podcast, by next Sunday, we will have an idea of where the series is going because 2 games will be played. So we'll kind of have like a clear idea of what's going on. And, you know, one thing is for sure, it's nice to be back. It's just
absolutely
nice to be back. And
I'm so happy to be back in the playoffs. So, yeah, there's the music, and we've gone well past the regular season overtime. We've gone into at least one overtime period, one playoff overtime period, and it's going to end after only one overtime for this week.
That's right.
Sammy, you want to any last words, Beer Baron, before we bounce out of here?
I just want to thank Tatiana Rafter again for coming onto the podcast. What a huge honor that was. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be back. It's playoff hockey. Sam, any last words?
Going to try to plan a playoff viewing party. It's going to be a Hail Mary, but we're going to give it a shot.
We're going to do it.
We got our
make it
last one
awesome.
done in a short period of time. So,
Well,
all right.
till next time, let's go Devils.